star so bright. Pull your hat down, make sure your cinch is tight. Horse is kinda snuffy, cold chill up your spine. You'll get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight.
Howdy there, I'm Matt McKinley and we're burning daylight.
In the saddle till the job's done right.
Welcome to Burning Daylight, the only podcast for the working cowboy. Well, howdy there, daylight burners. Welcome back. Happy opening day. I know we talked about it yesterday. That was the first official game. The Yankees beat the shit out of the Giants. Not close at all. I didn't see the final score. I was headed to my daughter's softball practice, and last I saw they were down 5-0. I heard it was end up 7-0. Logan Webb got lit the hell up, starting the season hot with a 10.8 ERA. But we'll get more into baseball later. This is the Frigging Farm and Ranch Report for Thursday, March 26, 2026. Cattle are high, inputs are stupid, and there is a shooting war wrapped around the world's fertilizer hose. That was a AI quip. I read it 3 times. I decided it sounded good, so I'm rolling with it. But just so you know, that was AI generated. We'll hit the board, then we'll dig into what's really going on in the Middle East pertaining to, first and foremost, our military bases, and then some of the oil and gas and fertilizer stuff that all ties into the beef cattle market and your pocketbook. But it's not all heavy and dark and doom and gloom. It's spring and baseball's here. Like, it's officially here. It's not saying it's gonna be here. No, we had a game, an official regular season game. The Yankees are officially the best team in baseball right now. But the Giants are the worst team in baseball right now for a brief moment in time. So I'm looking forward to that. And then we got some on this day in history to close it out. But let's get into the show. Okay. Moving on. I had to figure out what I was doing here. So, quick hits. We got some live cattle nearby contracts still strong with tight beef cattle numbers and steady beef demand. The board is running ahead of where a lot of the country cash cattle wants to be, but the packers need cattle and negotiated trade is light, so the leverage is all sorts of wonky. Feeders are firm, but they're feeling the bump in the corn. The feeder index sits just under the front month, which tells you there's still good demand for calves and yearlings, even with the higher cost of gain. I thought I had a slide in between there. Guess not. Okay. Hogs, summer lean hogs is grinding higher on better pork cutout values and export demand into Asia. It's not a big margin, but the barns have something worth hedging against instead of just pain. So a little bit of ray of sunshine for the hog farmers. On the grains and the macro side, corn, the May corn is holding in the mid 4s per bushel. Exports are improving. Ethanol is steady, and the South American weather is giving a little extra bump. Soybeans and May beans stuck in a tug of war between a big Brazilian crop and a strong crush. China's buying is choppy. So the beans aren't really taking off. May hard red winter wheat up on the southern plains drought and the Black Sea risk winter wheat ratings among the weaker ones we've seen in many years. On the oil and metal side, the crude oil is flirting with $90 a barrel. Gold and silver are both elevated as war insurance. Stock indexes up about 1%. As all these traders are pretending that the war is going to stay manageable, and the Fed isn't going to wreck the party. If this thing drags on, they're going to have to lower the interest rates, I think, and that's none of this stuff's good. Like none of it's really good. All right, let's see. On the input side, diesel and fertilizer on highway average are creeping higher. It was $5.50 a gallon here in Urington, Nevada, and a lot of the West is some of the most expensive place to fill your tank up. Every little trip anywhere, it just stings. I don't have to drive very far for anything, and I still burned a half a tank this week. And man, it's like shit. I got a gasser, and it's up over $4 a gallon, pushing $5 a gallon. This is dumb. This is really, really, really dumb. Fertilizer, nitrogen, phosphates, and potash off the absolute peaks, but they're still nowhere close to cheap. The war risk, the freight, and then a handful of the big players are keeping these quotes pretty sticky. So cattle prices look good, but the input side is still just ugly. Ugly. So next slide. I gotta switch my slides around. Okay, so on the Iran war front, I've covered it a bunch. We've talked about the Strait of Hormuz and stuff. And I mentioned the Marine Expeditionary units that we're sending, but there's been some reporting coming out that has just come out, and it's pretty pretty shocking, honestly. So reporting out of the Gulf says Iranian missiles and drone strikes have damaged at least 17 sites used by the U.S. forces across the region, including the Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar. That's the largest military base we have in the region. Ali Al Salam and Camp Burening in Kuwait, Al Dhafra in the UAE, and then facilities used by the our Fifth Naval Fleet is in Bahrain have been hit as well. Satellite imagery shows blast craters. This is a quote from an article. Quote, blast craters, scorched hangars, and damaged radar and communication buildings at several of these locations. At Al Udeid, which hosts the U.S. Central Command's forward headquarters, officials say, quote, early warning radar and command and control systems were knocked offline, end quote, forcing some operations to shift to backup sites. Analysts also point to the Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia, where missiles and drones have damaged radars and refueling infrastructure, with before and after photos showing one building next to the radar domes that are just completely destroyed. So all told, U.S. and allied officials estimate that the strikes have caused around $800 million in damage to the bases used by American forces in the Gulf so far. On top of the $800 million in damage, the Congress, the president is requesting $200 billion for this war effort, which is not really a war. It's an expedition or something, but we're doing war stuff, and they're at war with us, and we're not at war with them. We're finishing them. Yeah, I don't know what the hell we're doing. It was regime change, but we're not going in we're not putting boots on the ground. We're just sending a bunch of troops. Anyways, we'll get to that here in a minute. The energy infrastructure is also at risk. So throughout the Gulf, and then of course the Strait of Hormuz. So energy trackers have tallied a string of major oil, gas, and LNG or liquid natural gas facilities that have been hit or temporarily shut down since the fighting began. That list includes the Samref refinery at Yanbu in Saudi Arabia, the Bapco refinery in Bahrain, Kuwait's Mina Al Amadi and Mina Abdullah refineries, and the Lanaz refinery in northern Iraq, which is like Kurdish Iraq, all suffered damage or had to halt operations after drone and missile strikes and the fires that followed. So not only are they blowing up a bunch of really important shit, but it's important shit for oil, which burns thick, black, nasty smoke when it's on fire, and then it just doesn't really stop burning. You gotta cap it off somehow, and you gotta, like, it's an oil fire. You gotta smother it somehow, and good luck. It's a mess. On the gas side. Reports say Qatar's Ras Laffan complex, one of the world's largest liquid natural gas hubs, was struck by missiles and declared force majeure on some long-term contracts. I'm not sure what that means, but I think, you know what? Hold that thought. I'll be right back. And we're back. I just had my AI pull that up for me. So in that sentence, declared force majeure on some long-term contracts means that the LNG exporter is formally saying a war-related disruption is preventing it from fulfilling those contracts, and that the failure to deliver should be excused under the contract's force majeure clause. In contracts, a force majeure clause lists extraordinary events such as war, terrorist attacks, government actions, natural disasters, etc., that are beyond the control of the parties and make performance impossible or impracticable. When a party declares force majeure, it is invoking that clause to temporarily suspend or reduce its obligations without being treated as in breach, so long as the disruption fits what the contract defines and the party follows the notice rules. So here, Ras Laffan's facilities were hit by missiles and disrupted by the broader war. So the operator is telling buyers that the attacks and resulting shutdowns are a qualifying force majeure event. Practically, that means they may deliver less LNG or none at all for a time, and buyers generally cannot sue them for non-delivery during the valid force majeure period. Though the lost volumes and timing still matter for markets and futures and future negotiations. So there you go. So I was a little bit off on what I thought force majeure was, but now we know. Okay, so on the gas side, Qatar did a force majeure on some long-term contracts, while facilities such as Habshan Shah and the Das Island LNG terminal in the UAE have been forced to reduce output or shut down temporarily because of nearby attacks and debris. NPR notes that, quote, roughly 1/3 of the world's seaborne fertilizer and fertilizer feedstocks move through the Strait of Hormuz. The same choke point that the same choke point those tankers and gas carriers use. Analysts interviewed warned that the combination of attacks, higher insurance costs, and rerouted shipping has already pushed fertilizer prices up by as much as 30% for some importing countries, and that if disruptions continue, farmers will cut application rates, accept lower yields, and feed into higher global food prices. Pretty cool stuff. So, yeah, that's the choke point there. That's what makes the Strait of Hormuz such a vital, it's a choke point. If you look at it on a map, and you know what, I'm gonna have my assistant pull up a map of the Gulf, the Persian Gulf, and Strait of Hormuz. While that's working, we'll continue to. So as I was saying, you've got and always we've showed this on the screen before. Okay, here we go. Now we're back in action. So this is the Strait of Hormuz here. You got the Gulf of Oman, and then from Gulf of Oman leads into the Strait of Hormuz. So you got Oman, the UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, and then Iran over here, Saudi Arabia over here. All of these places are important oil choke points. And then you have Karg Island, which they talk about as a major, it's the major export point for the Iranians, is way up here in like the northern part of the Persian Gulf. And I'm not sure, I don't think you can see my pointer on the screen, maybe not. But all that to say that, yeah, it's a very, very important point of trade for the entire world. Like, huge amount of trade goes through there, and then you have all these countries there on the Gulf that are major exporters of urea and potash, all stuff that makes fertilizer. So, long story short, it's a real shit situation. And I'm not sure at all how much of a plan our government has for it. Okay, so now let's move into where's my there we go, troop buildup. Because my last slide here was about the beef impact, and the shortages. So, but like all of that leads into it. So 1/3 of the world's seaborne fertilizer and fertilizer food stocks move through the Strait of Hormuz. That's a lot. As the whole world is concerned, 1/3 of it it's a pretty large amount. So analysts interviewed warned that the combination of attacks, higher insurance costs, rerouted shipping, it's already pushed fertilizer costs up. We talked about the New Orleans urea barge, how much the rates have went up on that, and then we're going to get into some more of the fertilizer side of things here in a few minutes. This is a little bit of a longer episode today, but stay with me. So now we've got troop buildup in the region. Coverage from multiple outlets says that there are now more than 50,000 troops are deployed across the Middle East, spread between. Stay with me. That's a long list. We are spread between bases in Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, the UAE, Iraq, Syria, and U.S. Navy ships in the area. So Mediterranean and the Red Sea, the Gulf of Oman. I don't think we have anything in directly in the Persian Gulf yet at the moment, but well, no, we do because we have bases in Bahrain. So it's a really sticky situation over there. In the last week, the Pentagon ordered thousands of additional soldiers from the Army's 82nd Airborne Division. That's a quick reaction force. They're the ones that are usually they're on like 24-hour notice to be deployed. I think it's 18 to 24 hours notice that like from you got notice and now you're in theater. Okay, so thousands of additional soldiers from the Army's 82nd Airborne. I could not find a rough estimate. They just said thousands to the region. So I don't know if that's. I want to say it's probably around 3,000 troops, but these are elite light infantry paratroopers. So they, but they're light infantry, so they don't have armor that goes in with them. The Marine Expeditionary Units have roughly 2,200 Marines and sailors each. So I think it's like 2,250 about. So roughly 4,500 Marines are headed that way on amphibious ships. I know there was an MEU that was based out of Okinawa that's on the way, and then there was another one. So I'm not sure where they're both based out of. That part's it's not irrelevant because solid chance that some of you know a few of those guys, one or a few of those guys on the way over there. But reporters describe this as the largest U.S. buildup in the area since the 2003 invasion of Iraq. They also said that about the buildup of air power before we went all sorts of ham on Iran's ass. So if I've noticed something about Trump, he doesn't send military assets to a region without intent to use them. When they had the buildup in the Caribbean, that's when we went in and just snatched Maduro out of his bed. And then we had the buildup in the Middle East and over in the Red Sea and the Mediterranean, and then we went bombs away on Iran 2 times. Well, on 2 separate, engagements. One, we're in week 4 of it now. So they said 4 to 5 weeks would be over, and he said we're winning this war. But now this reporting is like, how are we? I don't know about all that. It's looking maybe a little doubtful, and I don't want to be like a negative Nancy here, but I also don't want to be bullshitted. And it sounds like we're taking some pretty extensive damage, and thankfully we haven't had more dead than we already do. And we've had hundreds injured, and some of them very, very seriously. So it's really tense situation, and the shit part of it is like we feel so disconnected from it over here, but it's very, very real. Let's see. Explainers from defense and political outlets say officials see these units as giving Washington options to, quote, seize or secure critical oil infrastructure and choke points, including Karg Island, Iran's main oil export hub, and Gulf ports and islands that control access to the Strait of Hormuz. Analysts argue that the 82nd Airborne could be used to conduct parachute assaults on airfields or key terrain, while Marine units could come ashore to hold ports, refineries, and LNG terminals so energy and shipping lanes stay open, even if Iran tries to close them down. And Reuters adds that the buildup also, quote, expands U.S. options to include limited ground operations on Iranian territory if ordered. even as officials publicly insist they're not planning a large-scale invasion. No, but they initially said no boots on the ground at all. And, well, we've got a lot of boots headed that way. And we've got a lot of boots already in theater. So take that what you will. All right. Now let's move on to the to the fertilizer side. And this was an interesting one, and I'm pretty fresh on this one. So if there's stuff I get wrong, bear with me. But this is a pretty fluid situation, it seems like. But as the war keeps fertilizer and energy markets jumpy, lawmakers and farm groups are focusing on how the industry sets prices. One report out of Washington notes that a proposed Fertilizer Transparency Act in the U.S. Senate would require major nitrogen, phosphate, and potash producers and wholesalers to, quote, report weekly prices and volumes, end quote, to the Department of Agriculture, with the goal of making it easier to spot sudden spikes and possible manipulation. At the same time, several large fertilizer groups are facing lawsuits and regulatory complaints over alleged price fixing and profiteering during recent supply shocks. A DTN-style analysis of those cases says critics argue a small number of firms use tight supplies and war-related disruptions as cover to keep prices elevated even after production costs fell, leaving farmers with historically high input bills. I don't know if that's true, but I would not be shocked. Wouldn't shock me a bit. The same coverage warns that regardless of how the lawsuits end, higher natural gas prices and war-driven shipping problems are already being passed directly into the farm gate fertilizer quotes, squeezing producers' margins. Analysts interviewed say that without more competition and better transparency, growers will maintain price takers on inputs even as they shoulder most of the risk in the food system. I hear there has been some movement on the farm bill, but I did not dive into it as much as I should have today. But I don't want to speak too much about it because I need to read into it. So I'll save that for tomorrow's episode, and and it'll be a good note to send this all into the weekend. But let's bring this one home on a more positive note. It's opening day of baseball, and it's finally here. This script was not. They were not expecting my little wayward tangent about how the Yankees are officially the best team in baseball and the Giants are the worst team in baseball at the moment. But that'll change quick. So after tomorrow, half the teams will be tied for first and half the teams will be tied for last. I can't remember if the Yankees play tomorrow or not. Let's see. Thursday, the 26th. We have the Giants and the Yankees do not play, I don't think. The A's don't play till Friday. They take on Toronto. So that'll be good. But there's a full slate of games. Not quite the full slate, but it's pretty close. We got Tigers Padres kicking it off at no, it's not kicking it off. I guess the first game of the day is Pirates Mets. That'll be at 10:15 Pacific time. So that'd be 1 o'clock or 1:15 Eastern. We got Tigers Padres at the Padres, White Sox at the Brewers, Nationals at the Cubs, Twins at the Orioles, Red Sox at the Reds. That'll be a good matchup. Angels at the Astros, Rays at the Cardinals. That could be a fun game. Rangers, Phillies, and then D-backs, Dodgers, closing it out with the the Indians at the Mariners. They're the Guardians now, but I grew up with them as the Indians, and I see no issue with that. So I'm calling them that. Anyways, so we got pretty full slate of games. The cold weather parks are pretending it's spring, and the warm weather parks are selling hot dogs for the price of a steak, basically. And if you're sick of all the war headlines and the high fuel prices and all of that bullshit, well, turn on a game, whether it's on the TV or the radio. I enjoy listening to baseball on the radio. I enjoy watching it on TV. I don't care how I see it. I enjoy watching these little shits that I coach play. I went and watched a high school game, or part of a high school game yesterday, and a pitcher here for Yerington High had a nice little slide piece that he was throwing around, and a kid from North Tahoe had a big sweeping curveball that, if he could locate that thing, it might be an okay pitch, but it was most of the time right over the heart of the plate. And North Tahoe got beat up on pretty good. So anyways, that's always a good option if you're tired of hearing the doom and gloom. Just turn on a baseball game. Unless you're the Rockies, and then it's just more doom and gloom. But yeah, don't watch the Rockies. They're terrible. Their ownership's terrible, and they don't deserve to own a baseball team. I feel bad for the players that play for them, but they need to sell the team. They really need to sell that team. All right, let's close it out with some on this day in history. In 1979, thousands of farmers from the American agriculture movement got so fed up with low prices and D.C. politics that they literally drove their tractors to Washington, D.C. in the middle of winter. The tractorcade brought about 1,700 tractors into the Capitol, creeping along at 10 to 15 miles an hour, camping on the National Mall, and making daily loops around town while they lobbied Congress for a better farm policy. They mucked shit up so bad with the traffic that the locals about lost their mind. It's kind of like the trucker convoy in Canada when they just blared their horns all day there in Ottawa, and the local residents were really infuriated. But hey, so were all the other truckers, because they were tired of the COVID bullshit. I'm wondering when we're going to see another one of these type of movements. Knowing the way shit's going down now, you try that today and you just get drone bombed by a National Guard unit from Hawaii or some shit. But anyway, the whole point was to park the problem right on the city's doorsteps. If Washington didn't want to talk about what it takes to grow food, the farmers would make themselves impossible to ignore. And I don't know what change was made, but they were definitely heard. So there's that. And it's curious. I wonder if that's in the cards in the near future, particularly with all this nonsense going on. And close it out on the baseball side. I don't know what exact day in history this was, but it was an opening day 1907. New York Giants hosted the Philadelphia Phillies right after a heavy snowstorm. The grounds crew shoveled all the snow off the field and piled it along the fences. They figured it would just sit there while everybody watched the game, but instead, when the Giants started losing, the crowd, of course it was Phillies, when the Giants started losing, the crowd turned the ballpark into a giant snowball fight, pelting each other, the players, and the field with snow. So this was in New York. Umpire Bill Clem warned them over and over and finally forfeited the game to the Phillies because the fans would not stop throwing snowballs. So at least one opening day, the home team's own fans literally snowballed themselves into a loss, which makes makes you think about any other time when you shot yourself in the foot about 15 different times on a marketing decision or any one of those number of decisions. At least I didn't lose a baseball game to a snowball fight, if that's any solace at all. But I thought that would have been, that's one of those ones, if you had a time machine to go back to a unique point in history, that might be one that I would go to. Just go see an old timey. This is 1907, old timey. I think this is like the spitball. They're not even the live ball era. But go watch one of those games and see it just get disrupted by a snowball fight. I think that'd be cool as hell. But y'all have a wonderful day. Please make sure. I did not fill out my slideshow the rest of the way. Anyways, please reach out if you got any stories you'd like me to cover. I've had people reach out already, talk about wolves, talk about some water issues down in Corpus Christi so I got to look into that. And I have been building a news app. I initially built to help research the show, and I've only been working on it a couple days, but I've been building it with AI, and it works. It works pretty well. Like, still got a few little bugs here and there that I'm fine tuning, but this is something that would take people like months and months, if not years of work, and like manual code entry. And I'm just talking to AI chatbots and be like, hey, do this. What if I did this? So I've got what I'm calling the Burning Daylight report, and it's got farm and ranch news. It's got the Fence Post politics side of news. It has a sports tab, and then it also has a global war tracker. So it has a whole bunch, about pretty much anything you'd want to know if you want to stay up to date on where all the shooting is going on around the world. And I think it could be very, very useful to somebody that wanted to use it. And so I'm going to be working on that. I'm going to try to figure out how to monetize that, because I think it's pretty cool. I've put a little bit of time into it. I put a handful of dollars into it, not much, but it's pretty cool. And I'll be rolling it out to the public pretty soon when I figure out how I'm going to roll it out. But anyways, if you'd like to take a look at it, please reach out to me, and I'll be glad to give you a little preview. On that note, let's call it an episode. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Please go like, rate, review, subscribe, follow, all that dumb stuff. If you're looking for more in-depth discussion on some of this stuff, I do put a blog post with the transcripts and some some resources and sources that I used and everything. And that'll be all on Substack. That's burningdaylight.substack.com. BURNINDAYLIGHT.substack.com. Please go check that out. Subscribe if you can, and you get ad-free episodes and then all the other extra stuff. And then I have a link in there for this new app. So if you go subscribe, you can check it out before anybody else. So that's all I got. We'll be back tomorrow and send you into the weekend with some news that you ought to hear. I think might be good, might be bad. Who knows? We'll see. But on that note, y'all take care and move your ass. We're burning daylight.
You rise up in the morning beneath the stars so bright. Pull your hat down, make sure your cinch is tight. Horse is kinda snuffy, cold chill up your spine. We'll get your ass moving, son. We're burning daylight. Burning daylight. Burning daylight. In the saddle till the job's done right. Burning daylight. Well, life is just a gather, and you won't catch 'em all. But when you ride through the gate, make sure you sit up tall. I can see the horizon, it's looking pretty bright. Well, get your ass moving, son, we're burning daylight. Burning daylight. Burning daylight. In the saddle till the job's done right.